Here we are with the podcast for the 2013 Fantasy Foosballs for the Devil pre-draft conversation. Today's subject, quarterbacks.
Quarterbacks, good one. Good position to have.
Going by the ESPN Fantasy Rankings, top 5 quarterbacks are Rodgers, Breeze, Manning, Brady, Newton. Scott, any problems with those?
No, I probably would not have them in that particular order, but I'd say that's the top 5 quarterbacks to have.
If you can make your own order, just throw it out there top of your head without doing any research. What do you got?
Well, I think Wes Welker coming to the Denver Broncos actually builds Peyton Manning's stock, and I'd probably have him at number 1.
In turn, it probably diminishes Brady's value.
Sure, I'm sure for many years, actually, Tom Brady's been a top 1, 2, 3 in a lot of people's eyes, but he's probably dropping down to 4 or 5 in my eyes. So we got Peyton at number 1. Number 2, probably go Aaron Rodgers. I feel his ability to rush it in, and he throws a lot there in Green Bay under Mike McCarthy. Number 3, we go Drew Brees. They like to throw it there a lot as well. He's got great targets. Marcus Colston, Jimmy Graham. He likes to dump it off to Sproles. And keep in mind, he's getting Sean Payton back. Great mind. Offensive mind. Him and Brees.
That will help a lot. So you say you got a good rough draft. You got Manning, Rodgers, Breeze, Brady, Newton. So consistent with ESPN is Brady and Newton, both at 4 and 5. You have a swap of Peyton Manning moving up 2 spots with all his weapons out in Denver. John Fox liked to throw the ball a lot last year. He's also got the 2 guys that he hasn't been able to get a year under his belt with, in Demaryius Thomas and Eric Decker.
Yes.
Both good outside guys, so Welker's a good complement on the inside. What about 6 through 10? Take a listen to these names. Ryan, Kaepernick, Wilson, Griffin, Stafford. You got 2 rookies, or last year's rookies, and Griffin and Wilson, both running quarterbacks, as well as Kaepernick, who essentially was a rookie last year. Second year, but first year playing. What do you think about running quarterbacks and their value?
Oh, well, it's definitely increasing over the years. I mean, back a few years ago, you can remember of Michael Vick. He was pretty much your only running quarterback.
Your Randall Cunninghams?
Well, fantasy years, excuse me. In your fantasy years. Fantasy's been blooming maybe the past decade or so. But, yeah, you got your running quarterbacks, like you said. You got your Kaepernicks in that list, your Russell Wilson, your RG3 coming off that season-ending injury, coming in surgery. I'm a little skeptical talking about him not making any off-season appearances. Preseason game appearances. That kind of scares me as a fantasy owner.
Yeah, you don't know how much they're going to run him this year. With his leg injury, is that going to diminish his value? Does that drop him in the ESPN rankings? Would he be higher otherwise, you think?
Oh, definitely. I think he'd be higher otherwise. Him going on to this surgery does get him around number 9. Yeah, it's tough to say. I think you're right. They won't be running him a lot. They'd like to hand it off to big bruising Morris.
Then you got Stafford, who threw the most in league stats last year. He had over 700 pass attempts.
Wow.
He's ranked at number 10. Right below him is Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck heads the 11 through 15 category. Following Andrew Luck is Romo, Manning, Eli, younger brother Peyton, which is a kind of a interesting tidbit in itself. A lot of the questions over the last couple of years is which Manning is better, but the discrepancy in rank, you have number 3 versus number 13. What are you feeling on the Manning brothers? Is there that much discrepancy?
Personally, I never really saw the discrepancy. I mean, there was that argument, Eli Manning, he's gotten, more rings than Peyton, being in the league, less years than Peyton. But I mean, from a quarterback standpoint, from a production standpoint, I mean, Peyton Manning, he's without a doubt a Hall of Famer, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Eli's still proving it. Of course, Super Bowl rings helps you get that vote into Canton. But, I mean, I'm happy with those ranks.
Speaking of rings, right behind Eli, you have Big Ben. He's got a couple himself. And Joe Flacco, a new Super Bowl champion.
Did I hear you mention Matt Ryan at all?
Yeah, Matt Ryan is coming down. Let's see, he was at number 6, I believe. Number 6 on the list, right above Kaepernick, right after Newton.
I think he's a pick this year.
So is he deserving of a higher ranking than number 6, you think? Would you put him ahead of Newton or Brady?
Ah.
You got to take into the fact, Newton had He had a rough beginning of the year last year, but
He
came
did.
on strong. Finished the year really well.
They'd like to use him a lot inside the 10, inside the 5.
Inside the 99 practically.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably going to have more rushing touchdowns than D'Angelo and Jonathan Stewart combined. So I think that ups his value. So he's good around 4, 5, or 6, but it's tough. Brady, he's proven himself many years. He's a good quarterback. I mean, no matter what new weapons he has around him, or young weapons, I'm sure he'll get the ball out a lot. He'll find his touchdowns or his yards, but I don't know. I really, really like Matt Ryan's weapons around him. Julio Jones, Roddy White, arguably the best 1-2 tandem receivers you got out there. Tony Gonzalez says he's coming back, I think after his 4th retirement announcement. And bringing Steven Jackson in, that could be some help with the throwing out of the backfield a little bit.
He definitely does add stuff. He's a lot better back than Michael Turner. He's actually, like you said, he's able to catch the ball out of the backfield. Plus, he's willing to ram through the tackles just like Turner used to do.
Oh, I like that pun there.
Ram through the tackles. We're kind of running out of time here. Just close it out. You had the Big Ben, the Flacco, Super Bowl, which is kind of odd. Flacco ranked 15th, but was the highest paid quarterback at one point this offseason until Rodgers signed his new contract. We had the running quarterbacks in the 6 through 10 range. Your Kaepernicks, your Wilsons, your Griffin. Vic is down at 16. And he's got Chip Kelly as his head coach this year, so that's going to be interesting. 16 rank was attributed to injury prone.
Absolutely.
But it's going to be interesting to see him and Deshaun and McCoy, all these 3 fast guys running around in that Chip Kelly offense.
Right. Well, I think he's fallen down to 16 because you really don't expect no more than 12 games out of Michael Vick. I mean, you think about it, you draft your quarterback. From a talent standpoint, sure, Michael Vick, he's top 10, maybe top 8, arguably. But yeah, it's just that injury bug that seems to bite him and bite him hard. It's a gamble taking him pretty high. So 16's pretty relevant, I'd say.
Yeah, middle of the pack.
Middle pack, yeah.
Right between Flacco and Bradford. Bradford's got those quick weapons out in St. Louis, the Givens, the Tavon Austins. That should be interesting. Could be a lot of bubble screens, quick slants that Bradford throws for 6 yards and turns into 35-yard gains. So you don't know how that's going to work out.
That's your Tom Brady-esque right there.
And then you got your middle, your pack guys that are always in the same position. Your Andy Dalton's at 18, your Cutler's at 19, your Freeman's at 20. We've got Palmer at 21 this year, ahead of Schaub and Rivers. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Carson Palmer, found a new place here in Cincinnati. Or excuse me,
Yeah, whoa, it's like we were back in the days with those running quarterbacks.
Yeah, Cunningham.
McNabb. Yeah, you know.
But, he's found his new home in Arizona. Fitzgerald, great weapon to have.
Oh, I heard he's a decent receiver.
But I think what really, really helps his stock is the fact that Bruce Arians is over there with him. I mean, we saw what he did with Andrew Luck, rookie coming in. A lot of receivers, no names outside of Reggie Wayne, and look what Andrew Luck was able to put up. And your T.Y. Hiltons with their big gains.
That's right. What was that? A 2-14 team, first round pick, number 1 pick, and then they went to a playoff team at 11-5, all because of the passing game.
Yep,
that's a good point, Arians.
Bruce Arians he's gonna want to throw the ball. Carson Palmer, that's his job. So
Speaking of throwing the ball, got a couple new additions in the wide receiver in Miami with Brandon Gibson and Mike Wallace. Tannehill's ranked at 24, right above Alex Smith, right below Phillip Rivers. You think that's a safe place for him?
I think it's pretty safe. I mean, you think Ryan Tannehill, you're not really thinking you're going to draft him as your starter. You're thinking your basic 10, 12, 16 team leagues. Tannehill's not really going to be your starter. Pretty, decent quality backup. Could be a nice bye week filler. But with Tannehill, I'd like to see what he can do, before I just plug him in as my go-to quarterback there. See what he can do with Gibson, with Wallace, and Dustin Keller. He's now the tight end there in Miami alongside Fasano. Is Fasano still there?
No, Fasano moved on to Kansas City, I believe, with Alex Smith, who's right below Tannehill at 25. And 24, I mean, that's if everybody gets a starting quarterback and a backup quarterback, that's right where it cuts off. So you got your Alex Smith, your Jake Locker, your Christian Ponder, your Matt Flynn in Oakland. He's going to get his first shot at starting. So there's definitely some possibilities out there for bye week pickups and kind of get a feel for these guys, see what they got, with no harm in actually going above and beyond and trying to draft them on draft day. It's like just let it ride.
Yeah, for the first time ever, I guess you can say the quarterback position is pretty deep this year, huh?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, the league's kind of gone in the direction of being a passing league, not much running, which is something we'll get into in next week's podcast, the running backs. But I'd say let's end this session with where do you think would be a good range to get a quarterback? I mean, you got your top tier, your middle tier, and your bottom tier. You want to grab that top tier guy right away, or you want to wait around for a middle tier, or you think the middle tier might even get drafted early, second, third round?
I think we'll start off, where you'd like to really get your quarterback. I think it all depends. Like you said, we'll get into running backs, so this answer might make a little more sense next week after we talk about running backs. But getting a top tier quarterback, I see it happening. I see people getting maybe one or two quarterbacks first round. Like your first 12 picks, I'd say 2 quarterbacks go in those first 12 picks. I can see that happening. But this year, I mean, we just said the league's pretty deep. I would say if you wait on your quarterback, pick up your quarterback 4th, 5th round, you're going to get a, low end tier 1 or a top end tier 2 there. And, with your sure RG3 and what he was able to do last year, he ranked at number 9, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people have a lot of faith in him, and he might be going, your 3rd quarterback off the board. So it's up in the air at this point.
Yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Like I said, next week we'll be covering running backs, so tune in next week. Thanks for listening. I'm Jeff, that was Scott, and good luck this year.